In this video, I'll be going over all 8 mandatory poses in open bodybuilding and figuring out who's the best in each as of 2025. Obviously, a video like this is going to be inherently opinion-based, but I am going to try my best to determine the winners of each pose based on key elements. Some standard qualities I'm going to be looking for are total development accompanied by generally great muscle insertions, consistent condition and detail, and of course, mastery of the presentation. Also, please let me know if I missed anyone, as I'm sure there are plenty of competitors who look great in each pose that I may have forgotten about. Starting off, we have the front double biceps, and my pick here is Samson Dauda. Out of everyone in the open today, Samson has the most sheer size in this one, and it all sits on an incredibly gifted frame. He is tall, wide, and proportional, and he's filled out every area of his physique in a way that reminds me of a modern-day Lee Haney. He even adds a nice vacuum, which is incredibly impressive considering his body weight, which makes his silhouette look that much more impressive. Sure, if you really do nitpick, his inner arms may not have the most separation, but the overall package is simply too good to deny. The quads in particular for me are a real highlight, with incredible separation and shape that balance the upper body perfectly. In my opinion, the combination of massive size, flowing shape, and solid enough condition really do seal the deal for Samson in this one. Now, Andrew Jacked is the first honorable mention I have, and he honestly has a shape and aesthetic package that some would argue looks even better than Samson. His arms and lats are more developed and his upper body flows extremely well. The downside though for him has got to be the legs. His quads are not nearly as swept, especially in the 2025 season, and his forearms and calves do look a bit stringy compared to his otherwise very dominant structure. That takes away from the balance you want in this pose, despite the overall aesthetics he brings. Now, Quinton Araya is another great example. To me, he looks like a mix between Samson and Andrew because he blends a lot of their strengths while cleaning up a lot of the weaknesses as well. His proportions are clean, his flow is excellent, and his detail is some of the best in the division as well. Now, the problem for Quinton is overall mass. Compared to top tier guys, he does not have the same mass, and in the open class, that is definitely something you cannot overlook. Finally, in my opinion, there's Good Vito, who brings a very different look from all the competitors I've mentioned. He is shorter and more compact, but in this pose he takes a lot of the positives from shorter guys like Nick Walker, Derek Lunsford, or Martin Fitzwater. He has incredible arms, impressive quads, a small waist, and lats that flare out really well. He does not really have any glaring weaknesses in this one, but he's also not the most imposing, and in the open division that size factor does matter a lot. All in all, the front double biceps has plenty of contenders, but Samson Dauda stands at the top in my opinion. His unmatched size, his very balanced proportions, and his ability to still bring flow and detail make him one of the most complete, if not the most, in this pose. That's why I have Samson as the best in this one. Also, if you guys are enjoying the video so far, a like and sub would really be awesome, as it helps out the channel tremendously. Next is the front lat spread, and for me the standout here is Andrew Jacked. His shape and upper body completeness still impress me every time he hits this one, and the sheer dominance of his lats, the striations in the chest and delts, and the general refinement of his entire upper body makes this one of his best poses. What really takes it over the top, though, has got to be the structure he brings. Andrew has incredible width in the clavicles, and his muscle insertions are naturally round and full, which gives the pose that clean, polished look you want in a front lat spread. If there is a weakness, it comes from the legs though, especially this year as I mentioned in the front double. His quads have not looked nearly as good, and they do not match the same dominance that his upper body has. Even so, the sheer presence of the torso and the way the lats flare out makes this pose very special. Now, Samson Dauda is definitely close to Andrew. He definitely has more overall size, he might even be more complete, and more importantly, his lower body is definitely better than Andrew's. The issue is that Samson does not have the same shape or flow as Andrew brings to this one. He does look more massive, but slightly less aesthetic, which makes the comparison interesting. Depending on what you value more, some might pick Samson. Rafael Brandao also does deserve some recognition. Even though he has not yet competed in 2025, he technically competed in the early 2025 season in late 2024, which still counts towards this year, and he is qualified for the 2025 Olympia. His front lat spread, though, has always been one of the most classic and pleasing to look at, with virtually no flaws in shape or proportion. The challenge for him is size and condition, though. Compared to the very top tier of the open division, he simply does not bring the same mass or density, even though this pose is technically excellent. And just for fun, I have to mention Chris Bumstead. He technically retired from Classic into the Open, and then retired from Open right after doing one show, and of course he does not have the same size as the true Open competitors, but his front lat spread is one of the best ever from a purely aesthetic standpoint. His lats, proportions, and flow are basically ideal, and it is a pose that has always looked nearly flawless on him. Obviously, the mass difference makes it very unrealistic, but it does show just how good his shape is. In the end, the front lat spread is all about structure, width, and presentation, and in my opinion, Andrew really does combine those qualities better than anyone right now. That is why I would pick him as the best in this pose for 2025. Moving on to the side chest, my pick here is Samson Dauda. What sets Samson apart in this one is the side leg, which I think is the best in the division right now. The overall completeness is incredible, and the thickness, the size, and the deep detail makes it look really good. On top of that, his chest is one of the best in the division right now. It is always massive, full, and round, and it fills out the pose beautifully. If there are any weaknesses, though, on Samson that I could point to, it would be the delts and arms in my own opinion. They are not the most detailed or separated, especially in the outer triceps when it comes to the sweep, and the brachialis area when it comes to definition and detail, but they are still huge, complete, and flow naturally, in the pose at least. When you put everything together, the side leg, the chest, the density, and the overall condition, Samson's side chest looks nearly unbeatable. That said, the one guy who could rival him in my opinion is Rubio Mascara. He brings a level of freak factor that almost nobody else can match. His arms and delts in this pose jump out with a lot more wow factor than Samson, and his detail from the side has that dry, grainy look that makes the shot really stand out. He might be a bit smaller overall, and of course less complete, but the sheer roundness to the upper body and the sharper level of detail makes this version extremely dangerous. To me, he does not look as complete as Samson, but he does look absolutely monstrous and is one of the freakiest competitors in the side poses. I also have to give Derek Lunsford some credit here. This used to be one of his weaker poses, but in 2025 he really turned it around. His side leg improved dramatically with a whole lot more detail and separation, and his far pec now fills out much better and looks a lot more detailed as well. Even his midsection looks tighter and more controlled than it did before, and I would say that his pose now looks really solid and is a great combination of detail, posing execution, and balanced mass, but the only thing that holds him back is density and overall structure. Standing next to someone like Samson or Rubio, he simply does not look as big from the side, and in this pose, density does matter in my opinion. All things considered, I would say that Samson Dauda has the best side chest right now. His unmatched side leg, his very dominant chest, and his overall completeness make him my pick for the number one in this pose. Next is the rear double biceps, and this one might be controversial, but I think in 2025, Nick Walker has the best version of this pose. When you look at Nick, the first thing that stands out is how complete his physique is. His back might not be the single best in the division, that would probably go to Derek Lunsford, but the way that Nick ties everything else together makes this pose his own. His arms and delts are massive and round, and most importantly, his hamstrings and lower body from behind are on another level compared to Derek. That combination of completeness and density gives him a rear double that I believe is second to none. The interesting thing is that Nick's back is not even that far off from Derek. If you compare them side by side at the 2025 Pittsburgh Pro, Derek clearly has the edge in back detail and thickness, but Nick really does look more dominant in the overall pose. He brings more mass, a bigger structure, and a stronger stage presence as well, and when you add in all the other body parts that Nick dominates in outside of the back itself, Nick does look far more complete in this pose. Speaking of Derek, he still deserves a lot of recognition because he definitely is one of the best. His back thickness, width, and detail are on another level, like Nick's hamstrings are, and his delts and arms look very good from behind. The main issue is the lower body for me. The hamstrings and glutes are not nearly as dominant as his back, and that lack of balance prevents him from truly owning this pose. Another person I want to mention here is Regan Grimes. He has a taller frame and has really good hamstring separation and development, and a really good back as well, and he brings a lot of aesthetics to this one. The problem for Regan is that he still doesn't have enough mass in my opinion, or a lot of that refinement. He has the structure and good enough detail, but he is not really filled out everywhere, especially in areas like the arms, to really balance everything out. Finally, a kind of wild card here is Joe Palacios, who is worth mentioning as one of the most exciting newcomers. After watching him at the 2025 Tampa and Texas Pro, his rear double absolutely blew me away. He really does bring insane thickness, freaky condition, and a lot of density that rivals all the top competitors. His only limitation is the structure because he's kind of on the blocky side and doesn't have a very aesthetic look, but really I don't think that's a problem in this pose. All in all though, while Derek Lunsford may have the better back on paper, I would say that Nick Walker's overall completeness, in the arms, the delts, and the lower body of course, makes his rear double biceps the best in the division right now. And you guys can't forget, Nick also has a really good back as well. Now, the rear lat spread is definitely an interesting one because I find it harder to decide compared to other poses. Derek Lunsford is the first guy that I do have to mention though. His back is incredible with a lot of thickness and shape that stand out right away. The issue is that his legs from behind are still not amazing, as we saw in the last pose, and the back itself does not quite have the same wow factor as it does in the rear double. It's still a very strong one, but it does not really blow me away. You might think Nick Walker would be in the conversation because he just won the last one, but without the arms and delts to round out this one, his version does not really hold up. His back tends to flatten out a bit in this one, and it does not have the same density or amazing posing that others might bring, so I do not really think he belongs in the conversation, despite having a really impressive lower body. Hadi Chupin also deserves a mention. He actually has not competed yet in 2025, but as a Mr. Olympia champion, he is obviously always qualified, and historically, his rear lat spread has always been one of the best. The width and thickness of the lats, combined with the incredibly dense lower body, makes him incredibly tough to beat. The only issue is that since we have not seen him this year, it is hard to know exactly where he stands compared to other competitors. Martin Fitzwater is another solid option. He did not look at his best in this one at the 2025 Pittsburgh Pro, but at the 2024 Prague Pro, which obviously still counted as part of this season, he did look a lot better. He had great width, good separation, and much more balance than usual, but in my opinion, I don't really see it yet in terms of the thickness of his back. He is really good and really complete, but in my opinion, there's something missing still. And then there's Joe Palacios, who I actually mentioned in the last one, who might actually also be my pick here. When he hits the rear lat spread, he shows a lot of muscle on top of muscle, with insane condition and separation that truly makes the shot pop. His density stands out immediately, and his overall development looks complete from top to bottom. So while we have multiple strong candidates, and I think any of them really could win, I think Joe Palacios is the wild card choice here. His combination of density, condition, and balance makes his rear lat spread one of the most impressive, freaky, and also complete in the division. I do think the only thing you could knock him for is overall width, as he's not the widest or most imposing, but the density and the condition and the overall refinement are all so impressive that I feel like I should just give him the nod here. For the side triceps, my pick here has to be Rubio Mosquera. In my opinion, he nails this pose better than anyone right now. His execution is spot on, and what really stands out to me is the level of detail he shows. From the chest to the midsection to the triceps themselves, and even down to that incredible side leg, everything pops. He is so massive, dense, and thick that when he hits this pose, it comes across as the perfect side tricep in the open division, at least today. The amount of fullness in the triceps and arms and delts and chest, really everything, even the side leg, and the size as well, makes him almost impossible to match, and I think it's really going to be especially tough for anyone to overcome him in this pose at the Olympia. The only person I can think of who does come close is Nick Walker. Nick undeniably has some of the best triceps right now, and his stance in this pose is generally very refined. His side leg looks excellent as well, which helps balance out the pose. The problem is that recently his midsection has not been nearly as tight as it should be in this one, and it does hurt the overall look. On top of that, Nick often does not fully lock out his arm, which takes away from the detail and pop of the tricep that could make the version even more dominant. All things considered, I would definitely say that Rubio Mosquera has the best side triceps in 2025. His size, density, and overall refinement when it comes to posing really does make this one special, and right now I do not think anyone is really close. When it comes to the ab and thigh, my pick here is Hadi Chupin. Even though he has not competed yet this year, it is safe to say that from the progress updates I've seen, he still looks incredible in this pose. His quads are as full and as detailed as ever, and his midsection is one of the best in the entire division. The deep cuts in his abs, serratus, and obliques makes this pose jump out right away, and unlike most open competitors, he also has the ability to pull off a very deep and impressive vacuum. That combination of muscularity, condition, and shape is currently unmatched in my opinion, and honestly, I do not think anyone comes close to Hadi when it comes to the overall dominance of this pose. That said, Andrew Jacked is the closest to Hadi in my opinion. He also has a very impressive midsection, more so from his genetics and natural pop. His tall frame and structure give him a very aesthetic advantage, and that always makes the pose look even more pleasing. The only downside is that his abs have not really looked consistently as full or bubbly as before, and his quads, which used to be very good, have kind of flattened out a bit this year. The structure is still amazing, don't get me wrong, and that definitely helps him out a lot, but the overall wow factor has dipped a bit compared to when he first broke onto the scene. Now, Dylan from Project Bodybuilding, who you guys should all subscribe to if you haven't already, asked me to include Nick Walker here, and I think that's a fair choice. Back in 2022 or 2023, Nick absolutely had a case to win with very good abs and decent enough quads, and of course a really tight midsection compared to now that made the pose work well. But in 2025, it has slipped in my opinion. His abs are not nearly as defined or, symmetrical as well, and his midsection does look a bit more bloated, and while his quads have definitely grown, the overall look is not as clean or balanced or aesthetic as it needs to be. All in all, the ab and thigh definitely still belongs to Hadi Chupin. His combination of quad development, razor sharp detail in the midsection, and the ability to still hit a very good vacuum makes him one of the best, if not the best, in this pose today. Finally, we have the most muscular, and this is one of the hardest poses to call in 2025. A lot of competitors do look amazing here, but for me it comes down to Nick Walker and Hadi Chupin. Between these two, it is really a 50-50 call. Nick brings true freak factor in this one. His vascularity is insane, his muscularity and density are unmatched, and when he hits it, he looks like a wall of pure muscle. His arms and delts are massive and round, his quads hold up very well, and the veins running down them give a very freaky, gnarly look, despite what anyone else says. Even his midsection, which can sometimes be a bit weaker, ends up covered up or shadowed by his arms in this one, which makes his overall package that much more dominant. Hadi, on the other hand, looks way more aesthetic. He brings finer detail in the chest, a much cleaner midsection, and way more proportional quads compared to Nick. His most muscular has a more refined look, but in comparison it can come across as a bit flat, especially in the chest and the arms, I would say. He still shows a ton of fullness and looks incredibly impressive, but for me it does not quite have the same shock value as Nick. Of course, there are several other names worth mentioning. Michael Krizo has one of the freakiest crab variations of all time. His arms are huge, his muscle insertions are full and round, and the striations in the chest and delts make his physique look really thin-skinned and very detailed. William Bonac continues to impress even with his kind of older age, with incredible arms, a lot of, old school muscle maturity, and a lot of dense fullness as well, that makes his crab most muscular very competitive. Samson Dauda also deserves a nod because his version is one of the most balanced. Whether he hits a hands together or crab variation, he shows a strong mix of size, condition, and flow, which makes it one of the cleaner looks in the division. And finally, Martin Fitzwater is a wild card here with some of the grainiest condition you will ever see in this one. He does not have the bubbliest muscle or the sheer mass of someone like Nick Walker, but he comes in complete with no real weaknesses. When it comes down to it, though, I would give the edge to Nick Walker ever so slightly. The freak factor, the size, and the raw impact of his pose makes it the most jaw-dropping version on stage today. I mean, his name is literally the mutant Nick Walker, and what better name and what better competitor to be the best in the pose. Anyways, guys, that about does it for the video. Please let me know down below your thoughts and opinions, and of course, I hope you enjoyed it. With that all being said, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.